Speaking of emotional, walking away from HBSE, because when we first talked, we had such a rich conversation around what it was like to build that organization off the platform of starting with the 76ers, right? And the incredible young talent that you brought on and the ownership and the relationships that you had. How hard was that process and that final decision to walk away from what you built?
Well, the end was kind of the easy part because we've been talking about it since January, and I've been working with Josh and David and Michael Rubin to try to find a replacement. We found an incredible guy in Tad Brown, who stepped in and will do an amazing job in taking the company to the next level. He's wonderful with people. He's smart. He's talented. He's interested. He's interesting. He understands big business. He understands team business. So he'll be great. For me, I'm a builder. I want to grow. And we grew this business over $2 billion in value in 8 years. Built it from a little tiny mom and pop team to a global sports and entertainment enterprise. And I want to do that again. And this business is big, and it's almost a $3 billion business now. So, I think in terms of growth for me, that's what I'm a change agent. I'm a grower of businesses, and this is a big business, and doesn't need much change. It's a really high functioning, incredible business. Culture is amazing. The people are great, but I'm not a great maintenance manager. I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm about. That's not what gets me popping out of bed in the morning. I like change. I like action, and I like growth. But I'm not a great maintenance manager. I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm about. That's not what gets me popping out of bed in the morning. I like change. I like action, and I like growth.
Well, and it's interesting because I believe the average lifespan of a CEO is 6 years. You were there for 8 years. You talk about being a
Two bonus years.
How about it? I mean, 2 bonus years. You talk about that. You talk about seeing it through, right? And getting through the process, all of that stuff. And you don't want to manage it. But at what point in your career did you realize that? Because that's sometimes folks, and you see it in different industries, right? And you see it, my old industry in college coaching, you see folks that stay too long. And it's not it's not a slam on them. It's just knowing what you are and what you're really, really good at and what you're passionate about. How did you figure that out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we grinded through it. I will tell you, I've known for some time, like, what I'm meant to do, what I'm on this earth for. And that's I hope to develop the next generation of leaders. But I'm not a great maintenance manager. I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm about. That's not what gets me popping out of bed in the morning. I like change. I like action, and I like growth.
Well, and it's interesting because I believe the average lifespan of a CEO is 6 years. You were there for 8 years. You talk about being a
Two bonus years.
How about it? I mean, 2 bonus years. You talk about that. You talk about seeing it through, right? And getting through the process, all of that stuff. And you don't want to manage it. But at what point in your career did you realize that? Because that's sometimes folks, and you see it in different industries, right? And you see it, my old industry in college coaching, you see folks that stay too long. And it's not it's not a slam on them. It's just knowing what you are and what you're really, really good at and what you're passionate about. How did you figure that out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we grinded through it. I will tell you, I've known for some time, like, what I'm meant to do, what I'm on this earth for. And that's I hope to develop the next generation of leaders. And I think I had a fair share of that at HBSE. The thought of building another platform and getting to do that again is pretty exciting. So I will tell you, I loved my time. I love the people I work with. I love what we built. I love the guys I worked for. Most people don't get the blessings like I've had in careers. I mean, I've worked for the NBA, David Stern. I worked for Madison Square Garden, the biggest brand in the sports and entertainment. And now to be able to build one that's one of the biggest brands in sports and entertainment is pretty amazing. But I'm not quite ready, and I don't quite know what I'm going to do next. I know I'm going to build something. I know it's going to be big, and I know I'm going to attract the best talent in the world to go have some fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can I read a quote that I read of yours when I was getting ready for this podcast?
Yes.
No, this was good because it really kind of it puts it all in a nutshell, right? HBSE is the best organization I've ever been a part of, with the highest degree of difficulty I've ever encountered, which I want to talk about that, by the way, and the most fun I've ever had. Okay. Because every day brought a new opportunity to learn and develop. This company has grown through a culture of extraordinary teammates willing to be innovative, having the discipline to do the work, and a courage to lead from the front. While I thoroughly enjoyed every moment of my time here, I am even more excited to build, grow, and drive my next platform. I mean, I just think that's so powerful.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, that says it in a nutshell for sure.
I mean, it really
but the
is.
challenge, oh man, I don't know. I'm not a guy who looks back very often. Whether that's, it's a strength and a curse. And I don't do a great job of reflecting and celebrating, but I tend to be in the present and forward. Mm-hmm. But what I'll always cherish is the culture we built and the people there. I mean, the friendships and the relationships, and the laughs and the tears and the struggle and the grind, and coming together as this incredible team to do incredible things. Yeah. And we used to say all the time, like, very good isn't good enough. Mm-hmm. And I love that. Very good isn't good enough. Yep. Like, I love the notion of like pushing the edge and pushing the limit and pushing people. Let
me ask you this. When you first started to articulate your vision for the culture and the state that organization was in when you got there, did people look at you like you had 10 holes in your head?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I might have,
or maybe only 9. But can you talk about that a little bit? Like how important and how significant it was to you to speak to the culture, right? And constantly talk about it, and when everything really started to click.
And there were only 12 people there that were there when I started.
Insane. And
so I, this notion of culture is soft is not what I'm about. I'm about a culture of accountability. And so, but I do believe that with incredible people and an extraordinary culture, there's nothing you can't accomplish. And so, yes, there's somewhat infamous stories about my first month there. But one is I took everybody on a tour, and I just had them write down what you see. Mm-hmm. That was the exercise. Just write down what you see. And we came back, and their boxes stacked up and chip paint. Mm-hmm. Pictures on the wall are crooked, Coke machine there or Pepsi building. And, it's like all this crap. And so I just said, like, I came in the next day and I said, hey, if that Coke machine's not gone by noon, one of you won't be here. And so when I wrote that in the book, and my editor and the woman who helped me write, Michelle Bender, who's amazing, they're both like, hey, you sound kind of like a jerk. I was like, hey, guess what? This is a change situation. Right. Like, this is not for the faint of heart. Like, this isn't like, come in, like, let's go, sit in a circle and hold hands and sing Kumbaya. I mean, we're trying to change the world. We're trying to make an impact in the city of Philadelphia at the time. Eventually became bigger circle. But we're trying to build a world-class organization. We're trying to be like the creme de la creme of this league. And right now we're 28, 29, and 30 in every KPI we have. We practice in a college and share the gym with a bunch of students. We have one court. Our locker room seats 12 people. I was like, guys, like, maybe, yeah, was I hardcore? Yes, I was. Did I have higher expectations than what I found there? Yes, I did. Did it take a while? Yes. Did new people help? Yes. Did I hire people that I loved and trusted and knew because I knew that they knew what a culture of excellence looked like? I did. Was that hard? Yes. I come strong. I have a strong personality. I have a strong will. Now, listen, when you hire people and the expectations of the culture become higher than your expectations, then as a leader, you can step back. Right. That's the nice part. It's like when the people you bring in are like raising the bar above what you thought was possible, you're like, hey, let me know how that goes. And they became the great drivers of talent and culture. I have a strong will. Now, listen, when you hire people and the expectations of the culture become higher than your expectations, then as a leader, you can step back. Right. That's the nice part. It's like when the people you bring in are like raising the bar above what you thought was possible, you're like, hey, let me know how that goes. And they became the great drivers of talent and culture. I mean, Hugh Weber, who you know, he was with the Pelicans, who's the Hornets at the time in New Orleans. They were a revenue share payer. I mean, they were a top 10 revenue team in the league. This guy's running one of the organizations here. Like Jake Reynolds, who I'm related to. You know how hard it is to work with someone you're related to? And that guy changed the culture of the organization by himself. I think we hired like 26 or 27 when he came in. Changed the culture of the organization. Chris Heck, Laura Price. Laura Price was there. She's one of the 12. So you know what they say? What is this? What is the expression? There's no one stronger than the converted. You know, meaning like she was there and she was all in all the time. Susan Williams, an amazing force for good who I worked with at the NBA or at Madison Square Garden. Donna Daniels, who runs our building now, the GM, incredible general manager. I worked with at the NBA at the NBA. So like you have these people with Chris Heck, who I worked with twice before, now president of the Sixers. Like, so you start to get these pieces of people who have seen it, done it, been it, have high expectations, understand the gear it takes to be excellent at your craft, understand what it takes to be world-class, won't tolerate mediocrity.
Yeah, and I want to go back to that. Won't tolerate mediocrity, and I come strong. How much of a difference maker is it for you that you know you're doing things the right way? Because everything you do is based on your core values, right? What you stand for. How much role did that play in your success with this organization?
I don't know. I mean, the one skill set I have is to hire great people. Like that's my skill set. I hope people would argue that I help them develop and grow, because that's what I'm passionate about. But and then getting them to work together. So that's what I do. You know. So do I always do the right thing? I don't. Do I always say the right thing? No, I don't. Am I sometimes come on too strong? Yes, I do. My intentions are always pure. And people that know me the best will tell you that his intentions are as pure as gold. And they'll also say, people that know me really well will say, he's really, really humble. People that don't know me well said, man, that guy's overconfident, or they have other more choice words. But those that spend a lot of time with me know that I love them. Like I love the people I work with. And I know people don't like to use that word or aren't comfortable using that word in a work setting. I am. Like I love the people I work with. Love them. I don't always like them.
Values, because you're in a world that's moving so fast, and you're inside building this culture on the business side of it. And yet, Philly's a tough city. Let's take Philly for an example, right? It's a tough city, and the fan base can be brutal. Sports radio can be brutal, but yet you had this conviction. You had this absolute conviction. You didn't do what was comfortable or convenient. You had this conviction. Did that go back to knowing who you were, what you stand for, and the fact that you operated out of love with your people? That's where, and that had to help your decision making and how fast and quick and you made those decisions.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'm really comfortable in my own skin. I really am. I have been since I was a young kid, and I know when I offend someone. I know when I say the wrong thing. I know when I do the wrong thing. I'm very self-aware, and that's really hard. It's hard to be that self-aware. I wish I were oblivious, and we've had some leaders in this country recently that have been oblivious and not very self-aware. And that's kind of a gift, you know, it's a curse and a gift. Being so self-aware and kind of wearing that and owning it at night, man, I just wish I would handle that better. And then as I got older, being okay, just picking up the phone and say, hey, Donna, I should have said that to you today too. I just want to say, accept my apology. So that kind of growth helps as you get a little older and a little more mature. But I do. I'm very values based. People know what I stand for. They know who I am. And they don't, some of my closest confidants were my biggest opponents and biggest debaters, which I love. I don't have a lot of I've never had a lot of robots around me. They don't make it too long, Right. The strong, the tough, the confident, they're willing to take me on, willing to walk in my room, walk in my office and say, Scott, like you are off base. I'm like, okay, let's talk about it. And I like to argue. I like to fight. I like to debate. But oftentimes, almost every time I take the counsel, I'm coachable. I was that president at Madison Square Garden. The only thing I could think about was, I don't want anybody messing with the culture. Like I had a couple bosses there, and it was different. Like I wanted this to be shaped and be the best place to work in the world. That was my goal. Like think about that as an aspiration. Right. I want this to be the best place to work. By the way, was it? No, I'm sure there are better places to work. For me, it was the best. But like, you know, aspirationally, you walked in. It's almost like, you know, you go to Disney and you see all those people smiling. You're like, how are they smiling? It's August. You know, it's hot. They're in those terrible outfits. The food's bad. Blah blah blah. They probably walk 2 miles to get to their post, and they're all happy. It's because they self-select in.
Right.
You know, at HBSE, we had people self-selecting, and I said, like, I am willing to work hard. I have high character. I want to be challenged. I want to be innovative. I want to do things differently. I'm willing to work, but I want to be the best in the world at what I do. I mean, I'm willing to learn. Like, all those people started self-selecting in, and then, you know, then it's easy.
How rewarding was that for you? Because you brought so many young leaders on, right? How rewarding is it for you? And so many have gone on and do incredible things. When they call you back and call you up and say, "Hey, Scott, walk me through this. I'm you know, this is a situation I have, and I remember when we did this with HBSE. What are your thoughts on this?" And then watching them in the trajectory, how rewarding is that for you?
Yeah, I mean, what's really rewarding is when I call them and say, "Hey, I'm dealing with this topic. I need your counsel." That's what's really rewarding. But you know, I've been really fortunate. I mean, you know, I always think about my group at the NBA. It was, you know, Amy Brooks, who's now president of the NBA. Chris Granger, who's now CEO of Illich Sports, runs the Tigers and Red Wings. Chris Hex, president of the Sixers. Tom Glick's president of Carolina Panthers. Dan Reed's president of Facebook Sports Entertainment. I mean, it's kind of like,
it's amazing.
That was in one little group.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'm forgetting 10 people, but Don Daniels is our general manager of the Prudential Center. I mean, like, it was like, it's kind of crazy, you know? My group at the NBA is similar. I'm at the Madison Square Garden, and this group is the most talented group I've worked with. I think we have probably like a couple dozen people who run organizations. I mean, think about that.
It's really mind-boggling when you think about it. It is very wild. And when did you know? I mean, you recruit this great talent, you develop it, you retain it as long as you possibly can. When would you know? When was the tell that it was time for them to fly on their own?
Well, a lot of them, you know, I mean, some are still there and probably should go, you know, but some of them did, like, so what I would try to do to keep them is move them out of their core competency into another area. So what happens is when you have a really talented organization, it's hard. They almost like run into ceilings. And so I'm trying to break through the ceiling. So one thing you do is try to grow the organization, easier. And then the second thing is, you know, I'll give you an example of a young woman, not so young anymore, but Brittany Boyd, who started as a director of guest services. She's now the chief marketing officer for the Sixers, the biggest brand. She was guest services at the Prudential Center, and then moved up, and now we moved her over because, like, she couldn't grow in her current role. She was running into a roadblock.
Right.
You know, Katie O'Reilly is another one who's now our chief revenue officer. Came in as a deal maker, moved her to chief marketing officer, then moved her to chief revenue officer. So those are like two examples of people who are in and out of their zones. And I'm just looking for really talented people who are smart, who can lead and manage, who have the gear, who are, you know, intellectually curious. And then we give them a shot for really talented people who are smart, who can lead and manage, who have the gear, who are, you know, intellectually curious. And then we give them a shot. I mean, we have a lot of people doing some big jobs that they're not classically trained in. But when you get up the ladder, it's really not about technical expertise, right? I mean, you have to have a strategic mindset. You know, you have to understand the strategy. But this is about hiring extraordinary people, building world-class teams, and somewhat getting out of their way, giving them feedback, you know, holding them accountable, setting goals, all that kind of stuff. And so I want to make sure that those extraordinary leaders get big opportunities